Hi, welcome. One of the things in my practice that I've been fascinated with for many years is the role of medication in how it unlocks family and a child's success, both at home, socially, emotionally, and academically, basically improving grades, but also how it changes the way parents parent and that interaction between medication and parenting. So I'm going to share with you some research. And I'm not going to go into the DSM-5 criteria, the ICD-10, and lots of academic things, because as a parent, that's not going to help you. What I'd like to tell you is that the research shows that medication is important. And when it's used, it can impact academics and grades. And one of the most important reasons parents come to see me is because there's a problem with the school and the grades. The teacher feels that the child is not unlocking their potential. So they have necessarily a concentration problem and they come to see me. The hope that parents can find a medication that's going to help unlock their child and improve their grades, because they know instinctively they have a child that is bright and smart, and yet they're not really delivering what their brains and their intellect and all the resources that have been put into the child with therapy help is not really unlocking their potential. So I'd like to talk to you about that. And fascinating, absolutely fascinating, is that it's shown that the medication actually has an impact indirectly on the grades. The most important impact is how it helps the child regulate themselves. The parent stops having to nag, having to get upset, shout, raise their voice. When they raise their voice, they know that their child ends up doing the things they've got to do. So there's learned behavior. The parent raises voice, gets upset, loses it. The child then ends up doing things. Then the parent learns. The only way to get my child to do things, I've got to shout, I've got to nag, and I've got to lose it to get my child to do things. And that has a big impact on the child because they're constantly getting shouted at, screamed at, panel beated, overly controlled. And that often happens at school as well from the teacher. They're getting it from both angles. So what happens is the child then snaps back, develops behavior problems, and is constantly anxious, and anxiety demotivates and often undermines the success. Now, if we break that cycle, and I'm going to go into just now how parenting styles are very important and how often then what happens is the child becomes more regulated. They can listen. They don't necessarily develop special powers, but the behavior and regulation of the child is improved. And then what happens is the parent doesn't have to shout as much. They become more regulated. The parent then is calmer. There's a more peaceful environment. The child then listens. They are more compliant. They become more self-aware because the immaturity of the ADHD brain makes that child function like a child that is 3 years younger. Then, of course, the parent kind of doesn't always understand that, and they expect their child to function for their actual age when in fact they're 3 years younger emotionally. So the relationship improves. And then what happens is that not necessarily because the medication is giving the child special powers to do the work, they are then able to comply, listen. And then instinctively a parent becomes more supportive. They have more energy into parenting. That is why often the medication works, but indirectly. So let's talk about parenting. You know that there are 4 types of parenting, and I see them diversely in my practice. And I often see parents who come in, and I can feel it immediately. They have this authoritarian kind of approach, this traditional parenting. Often back when I was at school, I had teachers that way. You will do it because I'm the teacher and that's the way it's going to be. And there is a completely draconian, and there's corporal punishment, and there's a huge kind of consequence. And there are a lot of parents that are brought up like that. So they often feel that that's a parenting that is the most supportive, and that is what works. It's this, you will do it because I say you're going to do it. Now, the research shows that this is not the most effective parenting, particularly in 2024. There is also what we call an authoritative parenting. So authoritarian is you have structure, but there's no real help and warmth to help the child navigate it. You are now 12 or you 8 or you 10 and you are old enough to start learning and doing it yourself. Versus an authoritative parent who has got fixed structure, is organized, introduces structure, but it's paired with help, warmth and structure and help. Then we get parents that are, I'm afraid, very kind of overindulgent. They are called what we call parents that kind of, they feel sorry for their child. Lovey, my boy, let's, if you don't want to get up early in the morning, maybe we'll just give the teacher kind of a note. Maybe the doctor will write one. I know you're not feeling well, or you're a bit stressed and it's too hard. And, let me help you. They often, I've seen parents literally picking up 12-year-olds and putting them in front of the breakfast table because they can't get out of bed, dressing them, doing everything for them. I've had parents that have even, said to their child, you go home, you relax while I'll summarize your work for you. There's this overindulgent kind of way. And that doesn't work because there's no consequence. And then, of course, we get these permissive parents where, they just absolutely are so busy. And I'm afraid I do see them in my practice. Parents are busy, mother, father, they've got an au pair that often picks the child up, comes to visit me. I haven't seen the parent in 3 years. They go home, they get left to do what they want to do. They often get left with a credit card. They're buying things online. They have Willie's Dash. They have Checkers 60/60 deliveries. They're just allowed to do what they like. There's no structure. And often, they have no role. They have no kind of mentor and help. The parents just, you get on with it. Whatever happens, happens, because I'm too busy to get involved. So you get the picture. Now, the research shows that it's the authoritative parent, firm but fair. And that is what makes such a difference. And I've seen it in my practice. As parents change their parenting style, they put more energy in to getting things organized. The child is often on medication so that it's given all the time. You don't have to shout and scream at your child on the weekend. Can you see how important it is that if medication is given 7 days a week, it improves you as a parent? You become more regulated. Often parents that are more in charge of themselves, self-care, that don't lose it, that are in charge of themselves. So it often involves a parent getting help themselves. And that combination of parenting style, organization, and also support. Expecting a child to do something is one thing, but not giving them tools and helping them to do it. And that also goes for the type of teaching styles as well. So the research shows that a combination between medication, giving the child the right help from the right parenting style, and that is not authoritarian, that is authoritative, firm, structured, and fair, and also being in charge of ourselves. And that's what I help try and parents understand. It's helping the parents get help. I'm often helping parents deal with their own ADHD, their own difficulties, referring them for help. And when that happens, oh my goodness, it is transformative. It is absolutely incredible. And I can just, as I'm thinking now, there are several patients where I've seen where that transformations happened, often where the parents changed into a different style, more warm, helpful, but not permissive, not letting things go, being in charge. That is when there's absolutely, it's exponential, the change that you can achieve. So I hope that helps you understand. If we can help you, get in charge and get in contact with us.